Absolute Batman issue 11, Scott Snyder writing with Clayman on the art. So, yeah, I will admit, you know, I mean, Clayman's good, but it was kind of like, oh, it's not Dragotta, especially since I read issue 10 like yesterday. So like I was quite fresh in my head. So I'm like, oh, this art feels so different. And obviously it's doing mostly a flashback story. And even then, when it's not a flashback, a lot of it's like this hypothetical what could happen. Which if you didn't get right away, as soon as Batman gets his arms cut off, I was like, okay, I don't think this has actually happened yet. I think this is, you know, just Alfred predicting what could be happening.
I don't think so. I think this is what's going on in Arc M. I feel like there's some body horror things going on, and that Batman is getting his arms cut off and they're just reattaching them. That's, and you know,
Matt, I think you've misunderstood this issue by the end.
Maybe, because reading it, I was just like, okay, so we're doing, because the last issue, right, was everything that Batman had gone through, right, and they keep, you know, he gets the cowl, he goes through, and he will not be broken, right, and so here they're showing the, you know, they're looking for the perfect candidate for Bane, right, to be like this disciple type, and we got to the point where he's fighting him, and it's Batman, and he gets his arms cut off, and he ends up back in Arkham, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't actually happen. But go on.
With the Doctor. So okay, so what part tells you that it didn't actually happen?
Well, I mean, Alfred is basically saying, okay, this is what's going to happen, and this is what you're going to do. So this is what he's going to do, and describes the plan and the fight that happens. And Bane ripping off his arms, which is brutal as hell. You see blood dripping from his wounds, all the rest of it. And it shows you them taking him back. It's like, yeah, he's the perfect candidate. We're going to turn him into Bat-Bane, whatever. And we see like what he's going to look like as Bat-Bane, right? And I'm like, okay, we're robocoping Batman. But at the end, he basically says, well, you know, that's what would happen. That's what will happen, which is why he's not going to do that, because he can see what's coming as well. The ending reveal is that instead of going after Batman like he said he was going to, like throughout the bulk of the story, is that instead he goes to his friends. He goes to Riddler and Harvey and, you know, that group. That's where he goes to at the end instead of going to see Batman. So Batman's still out there with his arms. Like, he's not went through all of that. That's what it says at the end, man.
So it's because he won't be broken. This is how I read it, right? Is that even if they keep doing this, there's no amount of physical things that Bane is going to do to Batman that's going to stop him, right? So in order to get to him in that way, in the way that the Man in White got to Bane, right, was through alternative channels. And that's what that ending, that's how I read that ending, was those are the alternative, that's how they're going to break Batman, because they can't do it physically. They chopped off his arms, but Batman's still not going to.
No, they didn't, man.
You know?
Like, adamantly, they did not. That's the point. He's doing this instead because he can see it all playing out, and he's not going to go do that because he knows it's not going to break him. He goes to the friends instead. Batman's still got his arms. I will bet you thousands of dollars on this, Matt.
Just went to Disneyland. I don't have thousands of dollars anymore.
How convenient. How convenient.
Yeah.
Right. No, they like.
But if I did, I would make that bet because I feel because this issue did not gel. I liked all the Bane stuff, you know, but between the last issue on the Batman not being broken and then this stuff here, I'm just losing my steam for Absolute Batman.
Really? Yeah, last issue was like the best issue of the book. What are you talking about?
Oh no, I did not think so.
Oh, last issue was great. Yeah. Him keep trying to escape and getting beaten up again, and then eventually gets out of the croc. No, that was great.
No, that was the I Am Bane BS that Tom King had done. I didn't like it then. I didn't like it when Snyder was doing it. And this was just, I felt more of that. That said, I did like all the Bane stuff because in the Absolute universe where where Joker's so different and all the other rogues so far.
Hold on. Before we go back and start talking about all the flashback stuff, because that's a separate thing. I don't want to move on quite yet, right? So the second last page of this is showing the Bat-Bane, right? What Batman will look like if he gets baned up, right? Because he'll survive all the testing and all that, right? And then the narration from Alfred, right, who's been explaining all this stuff, and he's talked about how Deathstroke and KG Beast were attempts at making another Bane, but they didn't work. They didn't die. It seems like they still got enhanced, but they didn't get enhanced quite like Bane, right? At the end here, Alfred's saying, but for that to work, you would have to break, or you'd have to choose to break like he did, because that's effectively what happened at the end of Bane's story, is he chose to break. You have to break your own back and offer it up, but you won't know, will you? You're still out there somewhere unbroken. That line right there, you're still out there somewhere unbroken. That's it telling you definitively
that
all that did not happen.
That does... Right, but he doesn't have to... All right. Oh my God. He can still be unbroken if they keep doing this stuff to him, and Batman's not going to break because of that spirit that he has. That was the whole point of the last issue, right? So here, in order to break him, you have to go after his friends.
Joe is so
and that's
silly.
what that is. That's why Batman is still unbroken.
Joe is so silly about this debate, is that the second we read the next issue, it's going to instantly prove you wrong. That's what's so funny about this to me.
Or it might, also you're so confident that I'm wrong that you're not even thinking that you're wrong.
Look, if I am proven wrong, I will accept the defeat and I will look like an idiot. But I am very confident here, Matt. I am very confident. I'm glad you are,
because I'm not, because I didn't particularly like this issue. So, you know, it was... I
had some
like,
qualms.
The art's fine.
I had some qualms. I still liked all the like the flashback stuff. I thought was a bit overly wordy. There was a lot to explain. There was a lot to say, and I did feel that took a little bit. That felt like a little bit of a short read. Like he had to pack a lot of words in there. So I will agree with some critiques in that front for sure.
But there are parts that I like delving down into Bane and how he's so similar to Batman, and that's why they are two sides of this, you know, spectrum here. I liked all that, the stuff with the dad and the, you know, him wanting to become the bird that's on the flag of Santa Prisca. There's a lot of cool stuff from Snyder there. But also Snyder's still the guy that made the Batman making machine. All right, so I have trust issues.
Sure.
And I feel like this is more of the Batman making machine. Is that no matter what the trauma that Bruce has gone through, it's just going to make him stronger because that's Batman. And I'm so tired of that trope. And it was, you know, it was so nice not going through that with Absolute Batman in the first arc with the Black Mask and all that type of stuff. And then we get this stuff here and I'm just like, ugh, between this and the last issue, again.
I mean, the best issue of the book. Last issue, yes, that one.
The last issue was not the best.
It was. It absolutely was.
I disagree. So you gave it a perfect 10?
I don't think about a 10. I said it was the best issue of the book. That doesn't mean it's a 10.
Yeah. So, no, last issue was it was like a 7, if that. I have to go back and look. Yeah, it was. Yeah. But this one just didn't work for me.
Was David more positive on it than you, at least?
I don't think so. We were about the same, I believe.
Was he? Okay. Well, I'll make fun of him later. No, I mean, I have no problem with like Batman's like, you know, will not breaking, his spirit not being broken. Like that's a big part of the character to me. I'm completely fine with, especially last issue, everything he was going through there. This whole idea of like seeing what Bane's going to do to break him, and it's like, oh, they're basically going to RoboCop you by like ripping off your limbs, giving you new arms, and you know, putting you through all these like Venom experiments and trials to try and turn you into like the next Bane and whatnot. I was like, okay, this is interesting, but as soon as they ripped off the arms, I'm like, okay, I don't think this is really happening. And then the ending confirmed it. I'm sorry, Matt, but the ending confirmed it to me that it wasn't happening. Well,
it didn't confirm it to me, and that's not some good storytelling. So, you know.
I kind of agree with that, though.
Keep talking. I'm gonna be quiet for the rest. You can talk about how much you like this, and I didn't. So
I mean, that's fine. You don't have to like it.
Yeah, but talk.
But I think the ending's clear though, so I do think it's good storytelling. I think it was a nice little reveal at the end when it made it clear that didn't happen.
Here's the thing: the fact that you're so certain that it didn't happen, and I'm reading it like it did happen, that is a failure of storytelling. Right?
But depends.
There's no 50-50. Because there's no 50-50 of like, oh, I could see that. Because I don't see that at all. Because again, I've read Snyder stuff in the past, I know what he's capable of. I know the great lengths that he can do. I also know the deep down valleys he can put me in through reading Batman. So yeah, as I read this, that's how I read it. And so, and again, I could be wrong, and that's fine, but I think that's a problem with the storytelling more than anything. So I don't think it's a problem with how I'm reading it, because that's what I'm reading, what's on the page.
I mean, you did yourself admit that you were going to get books discombobulated because you read 10 books really close together. I'm just saying that it's possible that you didn't process
That is true, but that's true. But I read this morning. This is the last thing I read.
Okay.
I was clear-eyed on this one. There was no other.
I think you misread it. That's all I'm saying. I think you misread it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Anyway, the other stuff in the issue, of course, is all the flashback stuff with like his origin and his father being this freedom fighter for Santa Prisca, and the mask he has is actually made out of the flag of Santa Prisca, which has got like the bird of like whatever on it. So there's a lot of talk about becoming the bird, becoming the phoenix, all that. And it spends a lot of time going through, they tried to do an uprising and they got imprisoned. He was still a kid and it was really tough on him. And the big thing is that when they eventually break out, like over a decade later, when he's now a man, the Joker, or JK, whatever we're calling this, businessman version, is just kind of waiting there and has a conversation with them. And it makes his dad kind of nervous. But when Bane comes back over, he kills his father. He just like hugs him, but then like crushes his back and breaks him.
Yeah. Bear hug of death. Never seen a back break like that, right? Because usually when we think about Bane breaking backs, it's the over the knee, style. not the bear hug one.
Yeah, it's just, you say over the knee and it just makes me think of like someone being bent over the knee to get spanked, as opposed to the backbreaker.
But yeah, so that was, I liked all that stuff. I liked this version of the Joker because they're talking about how this is a man that never laughs, smiles, or whatever, right? But what does Bane say? I have to go back to that page. He's like, there was like a wry grin on his face.
Mm.
Right there. Maybe it's his grin or the way he jokes with the boy but never laughs. So it was one of the things. There's an air of mystery around this version, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if there is going to be something that sort of like makes him laugh and how unsettling that might be when it happens, since it's something that he specifically doesn't do in this universe. Right. But I don't know. I did sort of like the mystique of the Joker part of this. My only real problem with it is just that like there was so much dense stuff to talk about during the flashbacks that it did feel like a bit more like it felt very wordy on those pages early on, specifically. Once we got to like halfway through the book, it kind of cleared up a little bit and it was less so. So I would dock it a little bit for just kind of the flow, I guess. But I did kind of like this kind of pivot to Bane where he's someone who kind of chose to align himself to a higher power, which is kind of not what regular Bane is, like that regular Bane's a bit more kind of like true to his ideals, whereas this Bane's like, no, I'm giving in to the big scary man, because he talks about how Joker said, hey, you come work for me and like I'll make sure Santa Prisca thrives. I'll make one phone call and this place will have like schools and hospitals, everyone will have like computers and technology, it'll be like a little paradise. And he basically sells out.
That's it. And that is the one thing about main continuity Bane is he's not a sellout. He does what he wants when he wants to do it, right? Which makes Bane so interesting. And when he flips sides all the time, right? Like he ends up on Secret Six for a while. He's almost an ally of Batman at times, right? But then during the Tom King stuff, he becomes one of the ultimate villains. Yeah, and it all fits anyways because it's true to who Bane is. Here, Bane is just kind of almost he gives up all of that just to be like, hey, use me as a weapon. He's tired of that struggle. His father, the revolutionary push.
Yeah, his father is so devout and like keeps saying, believe, like the day will come when we win, where we succeed, where the country will be ours. And they have this revolt when he's young and it fails, and then they get imprisoned, and his father's still saying, hey, believe, our day will come, it's coming. And like he buys into it because that's what his father's telling him seemingly for a long, long time. But after over a decade in this miserable prison where he's eating rats and like try to like not drown in sewer water or whatever's happening when like the tide's coming in. He just like he's offered all these things. He can have that better day for Santa Prisca in like a second. And a 1 second decision, he can make it happen. Make everything his father said they could earn the hard way happen instantly. And he's like, it's basically like a really prolonged, more dark, father-son way of doing the whole, why work hard, unbelievably hard, when you can just work smart. And immediately, he gets results that his father never could. So, no, it's interesting. I do like this kind of different interpretation of Bane's motives and who he is.
But I feel like compared to some of the other differences we've seen in the Ultimate Universe, it's still very close to the Bane that we're used to. So I think that's very curious when you think of the type of character that Bane is, right? And you only have to tweak him this little bit.
Yeah, but there's just this one core thing that's flipped, but it's otherwise he's still very recognizable as Bane, even though he's much bulkier, generally speaking. But his whole like I'm going to break Batman is obviously a big part of, and it is interesting that Batman's having to deal with this relatively early in his career because obviously Nightfall was a much later on. Like he had Robins and Batgirls by the time he got to Nightfall.
Yeah.
So
there was a whole organization around him. Also, here the change with Bane too is that the Venom also makes him smarter. Or so he thinks. Yeah. Which I'm wondering if that's like a drug thing where people that get on drugs think of themselves as invulnerable or whatever. But it doesn't turn him into like the Hulk kind of Bane that we've seen in the past when he gets all juiced up. So I thought that was a little wrinkle as well. Yeah, that's usually how Batman beats him, right? Is he gets them all monsterfied, and then he's able to make more surgical type things. So
yeah, I also
curious to see where that goes.
Yeah, I also like the idea that like they set up that Bane would have the idea to go after his friends because he saw like the reason why Batman even got away at the end of last issue was because Croc, was able to recognize who Batman still was and helped him, which is fun because you get to see Batman riding a giant like Croc monster out of the tunnels, which is fun. But it kind of sets up him getting after the others. But it could backfire though because Croc still ended up helping Batman. So like unless they're just going to try and kill these people, but it would be interesting if Arkham, Joker at the top of that structure, Bane working as kind of his strongman is what makes Harvey Dent Two-Face because they've already made Wailing Croc. So do they make him Two-Face? I mean, I don't know if you need to make Riddler, I guess, because he's not mutated or anything, but maybe they'll do something that cracks his mind and turns him into more of a psychopath, or a sociopath, even if we're going with traditional Riddler. But whatever. It's interesting to see how that's going to play out. So yeah, I'm definitely more positive than you, and I'm definitely more positive than you in the last issue because I liked the last issue a lot. But yeah, and the art is solid. Like it's got a lot of big moments. It's got like. Yeah. The arm's cutting off. It's got like Bane taking off his like symbol and then smashing it into his head repeatedly. Like all that stuff looks great. It just looks a little bit different than Dracota usually draws it. It would have been. Maybe this wouldn't have been feasible, but it would have been nice if only the flashback stuff was a different artist. Maybe. Yeah,
that'd have been cool.
Yeah.
Because even if it was Man doing the flashback stuff, it's so different, right? That. Like, his Bane is still huge, right? Yeah. But then when you see him versus Dragota's, which is much more, body horror huge than this version, where it just feels like this Bane's a giant. That might have been cool to see. But, but no, that where he breaks his dad's back, that whole page where it starts with the Joker in the helicopter and then, the dad hugging that version of himself, the little boy that's in the red, right, on that panel.
Yeah.
That whole sequence is very well done because I like Clayman, but I understand why people that don't, some of his single stuff can be a bit, cheesecakey. But I gotta say that the breakdowns in this issue, and I don't know if that's from working with Snyder or what, the breakdowns are really working, I think.
Yeah, I think I like Clayman for the most part. Like, I do think that occasionally he'll have, like, one kind of, like you say, cheesecakey, like, slutty page or something. Like, because I remember, like, for all, obviously, there's a lot of reasons why we didn't like Heroes in Crisis. The art was generally very good. It was just every once in a while to be a full page spread. I think there was one of like Lois coming to bed, and like she just had this shirt that was like hugging her boobs, and it was just kind of like, okay, your art looks really nice, but like it's just a shame you kind of, ruined this page with like this element of it. But otherwise, I think Clayman's art is really solid.
Look, I was looking forward to some Bane cheesecake, and I didn't get any. All right.
No,
that's my real issue with this issue.
And the only potential lady cheesecake that's in here is Joker shows up with some bikini ladies when he comes to talk to Bane. Other than that, it's a very, very masculine heavy issue of a comic book, which fair to say. All right, okay. Well, clearly some opinions differ here, but what you giving Absolute Batman issue 11?
Oh yeah.
Discard completely cut that out. What say that again for me, Matt?
6.5.
Yeah, I'm going with 8 out of 10. I'd probably go higher because I think parts of this issue do go higher than that. It's just kind of the wordiness and some of the flashback stuff's a bit dense that I'm going to drag it down to the flat 8. But 8 out of 10 for me on this issue.